Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the host of Runday AI Presents. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 17 startups under my belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai. We love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I got an incredible guest today. So, Jackie Fae. Jackie is a serial entrepreneur. She's a creator of the Ride or Die Relationship Blueprint, a system for men to attract a beautiful woman and create a lasting relationship with her. Jacqueline Fae is a founder and CEO of IDL Diamond Club. Along with being a I got to hear about this, a love manifestation expert, she created the Ride or Die Relationship Blueprint, which is a system for men to attract a beautiful woman and create a lasting relationship with her. She's been featured on CBS, NBC, Newsmax, and in Forbes and Entrepreneur. It is her life mission to help as many people as possible to find love and make their life a little bit better. So with that, I'd like to bring Jackie on board. Hi, Jackie. How are you doing
Hi.
today?
Hi, how are you?
Good. So tell me, how did you get started in this?
So I started about 7 years ago. So actually I started before that. My background is I was in LA and I was single and I started working with a matchmaker and I kind of learned the business from going on a bunch of dates. And then when I got married and pregnant, I needed something that I could do from home. So I got into matchmaking and I started my own agency, and it's just kind of taken off from there.
So, when you're out there, so what made you decide to do it? And, how do people, it is hard to find somebody. So, how do you go down through? Because everybody's, the different strokes for different folks. How do you find that right person, and find the right lady and guy that connect? What kind of, what kind of psychology do you have to use, psychological assessments to be able to figure that out? Or is it all gut?
Some of this gut, but a lot of attraction is built when you have common interests. So it's actually like a scientific proven fact that if you have things in common with another person, you will be more attracted to them. So that's a big part of it. And then, getting your values aligned and making sure that each partner has the same end game with what they're looking for.
Is it hard to do that? How do you know when somebody's, when you meet them, and I'm sure you're real good at it, right? But how do you know that somebody's telling you the way it is, or they're just painting a picture, of something that just to attract you? How do you know that somebody is really who they say they are, right? How do you go down through and assess that? As a person that's an expert at it, you must have some rationale to be able to find the right person that could connect. So is it just based on interest?
I mean, it's more than that. There's a connection. There's also, we have soul connections with people, right? So you've heard of soulmates? Yeah. So sometimes you're kind of destined to meet the other person. So I do believe that there's something bigger going on as well. But yeah, and that's why I always say in relationships, you should date for at least 3 months to really get to know somebody before you become exclusive. Because, people usually paint a little bit of a different picture of themselves on the first couple of dates, and then you really get to know them within a couple months.
And then when you went down through it, so you met your husband, you went through a dating agency yourself, right? So you said you did matchmaking. How did you go down through? How do you know that he's the one?
Well, I actually didn't meet my husband through the dating agency. I actually knew him for years before that. But I did actually, I got into some relationships through the dating agency that lasted, lasting relationships. But it's funny because when I met my husband, he was nothing like any of the men that I was used to dating. Like, he was younger. He might not have been quite as successful as what I was used to, but like our values were aligned and we wanted the same things. Like, we both wanted to have kids, we both wanted to start a family, we were both spiritual, and there were so many things that aligned that it worked out. And then, yeah, there's been ups and downs, but when you're in a relationship and you really put the work in, you can make it last.
Well, that's interesting. So, how do you go down through, and you've got all these guys that are out there, and then you've got these women. So, how do you first of all find them to be able to connect them? And then, what's the connect the dots part? So, is it based on interests? And you say, oh, that one likes pickleball. That one likes to travel to Mexico. That one likes scuba diving. Well, I think there'd be a love connection. How does that work?
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. And I know you appreciate this being in like the AI world, but we use AI to get the first initial round of interviews. So through like the AI system and the ads, they come into our system, and then we have a lot of information on them. And then we can kind of weed through and see who would be a good match. But yeah, common interest is definitely a big thing. It's also, if somebody doesn't want to have kids and someone does, that's not a match. If someone already has kids, and like, you got to make sure that that all aligns properly, and then you kind of go from there and base it on attraction physically as well.
And so you go down through and you start out. Well, that's incredible. So you got this tool. A lot of folks are talking about generative AI. And so, how does it work? So, what do they do? Is there an app that you developed, or how do they get into your system? So, all my audience out there, I'm sure people are going to say, "Oh, I want to do this." How would they do? How would they engage with you, and what does it look like?
Yeah, so we actually have a number that you can text. So you go and you text the number, and it's a chat bot, and you answer your whole questionnaire through text. And then once we have all your information in, then we schedule a Zoom call just to make sure, you actually look like your pictures, and, make sure that you show up for your interview, you're reliable, because that's a really big part of it too.
Jackie, when you're doing this, is it harder to find the guys or the girls?
It's like playing Tetris. You got to find like the pieces that go together, right? So we have a lot of women, we have a lot of men, but it's about finding the right partner for the right person. So, but yeah, it's we definitely have a large database of both men and women.
So, what are the women looking for today? So, if you look at like the top three things, what do you hear a lot of? And then, with same thing for the guys.
Yeah. So the women, they want someone who's successful, that has emotional intelligence. We hear that a lot, and that has like a good heart, that has the ability to love and be loyal. Like, I think that's definitely huge.
So successful, emotional IQ, and to be loyal, right? To have the right kind of feelings, right? And
Yes.
and what about with the guys? What are they looking for?
So the guys are looking for, I mean, attraction's big with the guys, but you know what? That's big with the women too. I'll actually go back and say that people want people who take care of themselves. That's huge. And then the guys are looking for someone who has something going on. They want someone who's passionate, and someone that can be their best friend.
And then how to be when you're going down through this process. Is it based on the same level of education? Do you find people that if they got a doctorate, they're looking for somebody with a doctorate, or is it more based on do you go rock climbing, or do you like to dig cruises? How does it work?
Everybody's different. So to some people, education is their number one value, right? Like, that's super important. Or there's some people who want to find someone who speaks like three or more languages. That's important to them. And then, yeah, there's other people that are like, oh, I want an adventure girl or guy. I want to go rock climbing. I want to travel. Like, that's really important to them.
Have you found anybody that just says, I just want a calm life and to enjoy my life and be happy? Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants that, I think.
Interesting. And so, where do the girls come from, and where do the guys come from? Are they based in the U.S.? Are they based abroad? Are they based in Florida? Where are they from?
All over. So, I mean, it's mainly US. So, we're nationwide. So, we have men and women all over. And then we do get people outside of the US, and we're actually expanding and throwing retreats in Costa Rica and in Munich, Germany. So we're going more global with this now.
So when you're going down through, and you look at it, so you got these men and these women in there, and it's amazing because a lot of times when they're coming in, they're using this tool to be able to enter, right? But how does it go? So as soon as they do that, what do? You book a Zoom call with them based on their profile, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we have 3 different matchmakers that work for our company. So depending on where they're located, that's the matchmaker that ends up setting the call with them. So then, once we have all their information, we do the Zoom because like I said, there's a lot of people who don't really look like their pictures nowadays. That's a big thing. So we got to make sure everybody actually looks like their pictures, and then it also is a way to make sure that they're reliable. Because if you can't show up for your Zoom call, how are you going to show up to your date? You're not making this a priority.
Are the women looking for the guys? Are they looking for like their body build? Like, are they, slim or muscular or athletic or average? And do the women look for the same? Do the guys look for that in the women? And do the women look for the same thing in the guys?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think a lot of people are looking for someone who takes care of themselves. So that's like a big thing that we hear a lot. And physical attraction is it's a thing, and it's big, and they do specify that's what they're looking for, but it really depends. For some people, that's their top value, is they want somebody fit. They're into fitness and they want somebody fit. For other people, that's not values. It's they're open. They'd rather have somebody that they really really connect with on a deeper level.
What about like age differences? How does that work? Do you have? Because I sometimes see older women with younger guys, older guys with younger women. How does that work? Is it, or is it are they with? Is there a norm? Are they 3 to 5 years apart, or how does that work?
I mean, it really depends on the person. I personally think for the best relationships, like a 10-year age gap, either way works, like 10 years older, 10 years younger, just because you're going to have stuff in common. But I've seen relationships where it's like 15 years difference that work, even 20 years difference that work. It just is really, it depends. I also feel like once, everybody's over 35, things kind of change. The thing that I do find a little bit, just a little bit odd, is when somebody has kids and their kids are older than the person that they're dating. Like, I know personally for me, like my kids are little, but I know personally for me that would be a little strange to me, but I do see it. Like, yeah.
I see some guys and some ladies that have different relationships, and you go down through it. I mean, my wife's 17 years younger than me, and we played out. We lived in Russia together, and then she moved over here with me, and we've been together, I guess, 9 years, something like that, going on 10 years. But you go down through it, and and happiness is, you think about it, Jackie, too. The when it's all said and done, happiness, whatever happiness means, right?
Right.
Is really important. And then you're right about kids. Do they want kids or not? The last thing you want to do is get in a situation and you find out they don't want kids or can't have kids, and you really want them. So that's really important. Sure. What about the thing? What my buddies that drive Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all this stuff. How many of the women? What percentage of them are attracted to the guys just because of the cars they drive or the jets they have? Is there? Do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, I see it. I think that I think that people at some point start to realize that that doesn't mean everything. Like I remember when I was single and I was dating, and there was this guy and he had this Lamborghini, and he came and he was so boring that I was like, I literally made up a song. I was like, Lamborghinis, I don't care. I'll make excuses to wash my hair. But I was just like, this guy's like boring. So I think that a car is great, but a personality is better. And I feel like most women would probably agree with me on that. Like, let it be an add on, but it's not a substitute.
I got it. So if the guy has a car and is interesting, then you hit the jackpot.
Yeah. I mean, like, fast cars are fun. Who doesn't like fast cars, right? But do you need them? Absolutely not. But are they cool? Sure.
Yeah. No, I got it. That's interesting. So for those women that are out there, what would you tell them right now? I mean, there's a lot of, I know I have a lot of friends that can talk about it's really hard. What would you tell them right now, and how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah. I mean, I would tell them that love will never come in the package that you think it will. So it's best to be open, because it always comes as a test or a challenge. And I've learned that in, my own life. But then, yeah, to reach out to me. So I'm on Instagram. I'm the Fairy Matchmaker, like my last name, Fae. So it's Faery, the Fairy Matchmaker.
Mhm.
And yeah, they can find me there. I'm on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn. And then our website, we have thefairymatchmaker.com. And then we also have idldiamondclub.com.
And where did they go down through to fill out that form that you said goes down through and uses the AI? Where's that?
So that they can reach out to me directly on my Instagram. They can either go to the IDL Diamond Club or the Fairy Matchmaker Instagram. And then if they DM me, I'll send them the number with the card on it.
Sounds great. And what about for the guys? So, what would you tell them right now? Because I have a lot of my friends they're afraid too, Jackie. They're afraid of getting into relationships because they don't want to lose everything they have. And, they're concerned that somebody doesn't like them for who they are, but the things that they have. What would you tell them?
Number one, to get to know each other before you become exclusive. So date for at least 3 months. And then, yeah, and be open. So whenever you have like fear around anything, you're closing yourself off to the possibilities. So you got to open yourself up, but don't jump into anything too quickly where you could get taken advantage of. Really get to know somebody.
So, using these incredible tools is generative AI. I mean, I can see the kind of impact. I've just earlier today had a recruitment group that's doing HR recruitment using generative AI, kind of like what you're doing, right? For on the
Mhm.
matchmaking side, but they've raised quite a bit of money, and they're doing recruitment. How far do you see it going in terms of your own process? We'll get to a point where you'll have avatars talking to the person and kind of like telling them what they should and shouldn't do and guiding them. Do you think it'll evolve to that point?
I don't know. I think you can like feed your AI everything you know, right? So you could like feed it everything about you, and then it could probably go talk to other AIs and date, and then it could come back and tell you which ones are the best match
Yeah,
for you.
that's actually a really good idea. Could you have a Jackie bot that could go out there and, in your profile, go out there and try to counsel them and, sift through other people instead of you having to
Yeah, that's
talk
what
to
I want to do. That is, I want to put that on my website, especially where, I think the thing is, and this is what I found a lot of, and this is why like I'm getting into the retreat space, and because I want to do more coaching. And I know personally, like from my own experience, I was terrible at dating when I was in my 20s. Like I was an entitled actress. I was dating, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? Instead of like actually like trying to find a real partner. And so I definitely think a lot of us could use coaching, and it's helpful because sometimes we got to get our values realigned to figure out like what's really important. So yes, that would be awesome if like the version of me could just kind of help anybody. You come and you ask questions, and so she could be available all the time for
Yeah, I
guidance.
mean, you could do that. That would be something you could do. And what was a trigger for you, Jackie, that took you from that, you said entitled actress, to the point where you change your values switch? What was that, pivot point for you personally that made you rethink who you are?
Yeah. Well, a little bit about my background is I was a actress in Hollywood, and I kind of hit a wall, and in a way like Hollywood kind of chewed me up and spit me out. Like it was a lot. The casting couch was real. All of it was real. I was always selling myself to people. Like I said, my values were so misaligned. I was trying to date directors, producers. Like, what can you do for me? And then all of a sudden, one day, I just woke up and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to. And so then I was really lost. I got in a relationship with a guy that I met through a matchmaker. It ended up getting really serious. He didn't want to have kids. I wanted to have kids. We ended up breaking it off. He was a recovered addict, turned to drugs. Within 6 months, he died. And it was like, oh my God, my whole world fell apart. I hit rock bottom and I had to like really reinvent myself. And so I started getting certified for a lot of stuff. Like I got certified for life coaching, for hypnotherapy. And that's kind of where all this came with like helping myself. And then I realized, oh, okay, I really want to help other people. So that was kind of, I think for me, I had to kind of hit rock
So
bottom.
you saw him, that death, his death, you kind of, that put you sideways. And then you started looking inside of yourself and reevaluating who you are, right? And the kind of things that you want. What did you come up with? What did you decide you wanted when you went through that process? What was the most important, what are the most important things for you? Before you were saying entitled, but what about now? What's
So
changed?
like when I reevaluated myself and I went through the NLP and I did all the coaching with myself, I decided the number one value for me was a best friend. That was what I was looking for. I was looking for someone who was spiritual because I'm pretty spiritual, and I wanted like someone who wanted a family, who wanted family values, because that was really important to me. And it was much different than what I initially had put, which was like rich, funny, handsome. Yeah, because that didn't work for me clearly.
And do you see girls that are like that now? Do you see women that come to you that are still, entitled? Do they still have, they haven't gone through the crossed the chasm, right? Or pivoted. Do you see that? Do you coach them about what's important for them?
Yeah, yeah, I see a lot of it. We talk to women sometimes, and one of our questions on our questionnaire is like, "How much do you need your partner to make?" And some girls will literally like, "Oh, he needs to make 10 million a year." Okay, well, you just disqualified the whole entire population. Like, it's like a 0.01%, but like. I see it. And, he needs to drive this car. He needs to pay my rent. He needs to do this. And I think like the thing that's really lacking, and I know that was lacking in me, was self love. Because if you really love yourself, you're not going to need all that. You really just want a partner. So, yeah, I've been working with the women and helping them with that. And then, that's also why we're doing these goddess retreats, so they can step in their power. And it's not about like having a man because you need one. It's about having a man because he adds to your life.
No, that's beautiful. Now, that's a great segue. And so, final thoughts for you, Jackie, and what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, like I said, through Instagram is perfect. LinkedIn, and then also on the website, thefairymatchmaker.com or idldiamondclub.com.
That's great. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And thanks for all my audience for one more time. Runday Presents. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you again with another exciting edition. Thanks, Jackie. Appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you.